Welcome back to my Brian Joseph shot commentary, whatever you want to call it. If you're here after this many videos, that means maybe I'm doing a pretty good job. I don't know. But yeah, this shot right here is from a music video called Switchblade, which we did for an artist called West Ghost. West Ghost. And yeah, this scene is really cool. I had a lot of fun with this one. Basically, what we did here was overhead. There is some sort of kind of like that classic interview, kind of thing going on here. And we had, it's kind of like frosted glass, right? So there's a light shooting light down that way onto them. So that's one part of this piece. And the other kind of things that are going on here is we obviously see this window, you know, this window pushing light out. I believe that's just straight sun. It's just normal. I just let the windows blow out. And there's another window up here that we kind of just let go too. So yeah, this overhead light's kind of like a wider light. I know that I think I white balanced over the camera just to kind of make it a little bit more blue in the first place. But then I probably put in like a Nova somewhere into the ceiling just to get a little bit more blue, just, everywhere in the room. But yeah, that's generally, I think, what the lighting was for this. I think the Nova might have been over here actually shooting into the ceiling. If I remember, there was a little doorway. And then, yeah, overhead light to get kind of like, some of this stuff. And then some natural sunlight coming through the window. So pretty simple setup, sometimes less is more. You don't always need a million lights to make something look cool. Sometimes literally, less is more. But I just love the framing of it. We were kind of referencing, the old Suicide Squad movie, with Jared Leto and Margot Robbie as Joker. Was kind of like the vibe. And I just love these kind of lines from the table. I love how she's kind of coming up here like this, and he's kind of coming up like this with the chair and him, and they meet in the middle there, and it's just a good frame. Just a good frame. We did a little dolly in action on this, so it started off a little bit wider, and then it comes in to I think a little bit closer than this, but yeah, it's just a good shot. I like all the elements going on here, and I love the atmosphere, and it's a really cool thing. All right, moving on. Another music video from West Coast, but this is a different one. This was the first one that we had the opportunity and pleasure of working on for him for Teeth, which was kind of like a vampire-esque kind of vibe, kind of horror, dark. So basically, he's a vampire, and he turns all of these other past lovers. He kind of sucks the love out of all of the lovers that he was with in the past, right? So that was kind of the idea. So I had the thought, like, what if we have a bunch of like dead past lovers and, like past victims as a vampire, like just laying around all over the place in this video. And so this opening shot, it starts off way over here on like one of the girls like kind of laying upside down, and then Dolly's left up this way, and we end up landing on West Coast. Eventually it becomes like a shot that's, this is the edge of the frame. But I picked this middle spot just so you guys could see where the light was coming from over here too. So we have these draped women over here on the bed, dead or whatever, maybe they're turning to vampires or something. And we have like this blue moonlight, that's kind of being hit right there. That's on them, and where is that coming from? So that was, I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, we had it was either an Aperture 300 or a 600. I don't remember the exact unit, but I think I had a softbox that was up on the left hand side over here, and we basically just had that softbox shooting light from the right hand side. So that was that. So that's kind of giving us all of those levels and whatnot. Then when we move over here on the left-hand side with West Coast, I believe what we did is we tried to boom over some sort of orange light that you're seeing hitting him right here. And so that was basically the the setup for the most part. You know, it was kind of just two sources, like the big moonlight pushing in, hitting this, hitting this, hitting this, washing slowly, you know, lightly over them. And then we had like this yellow green light that was kind of like almost like a candlelight overhead that would kind of, as if it was like, you know, a chandelier or something, you know, hitting him there. Now, there was one thing that I tried to do that we failed on, and I misjudged this, so I want to be transparent about that. I wanted this piece of fabric, this window, to glow. I just thought it would add a lot of depth to the image, some interest, and I thought it'd be cool. And we spent kind of a good amount of time trying to get the brightest light that I had, which, you know, wasn't really that bright of a light, but outside, and spent a lot of time getting it all the way up, because we had to go up like 2 stories and we only had a few, you know, like we didn't have the right gear for it. So we were trying to figure out a way to make that happen. And we shot it straight on with the Leica, and it didn't do anything like at all. So it just could not overpower the sun, you know. So this sheet was already extremely dark. So unfortunately, that didn't work out. But in a perfect world, this would have been lightly glowing, and we would have gotten a little bit of edge light on him if that was able to happen. But it didn't. Still a cool looking shot. I still really like this shot. Moving on. All right. This next video here is this next shot here is from Allure. This is a kind of a short experimental film project that me and Chase Harding and Goblin Goddess here did the makeup artist for, you know, for this whole thing. Her name was Tara FX, I believe, on Instagram. I'll tag her down below. But yeah, this was just a cool kind of little run and gun thing. We ended up turning this into a really cool experimental film. So if you haven't seen it, it's on my page somewhere or my website, whatever, you know, you can probably find it. But yeah, it's just like this kind of story of this tortured soul, and, you know, just performance art, kind of like just interpretive movements and stuff like that. And we just wanted to film it in a cool way. So believe it or not, this is actually a white cyc wall. All of this stuff right here is white cyc, and, you know, it's kind of like one of these where it goes up. And so the way that we had the light this basically was we basically there was a menace arm that we had, which a menace arm, for those who don't know, is just a big fucking light stand with a big arm, you know, and then you put the light on top of that, and then that can shoot light down, right? So we had one of those. I forget exactly what unit it was, but that was basically skirted off, so it would have this hard line on the bottom, and that basically lit our talent. And that was pretty much it. Another thing that we would have done, I believe that Chase likes to do for some of these shoots that he does here, is we took a hard source, and if you notice, there's like a little bit of a white patch right here that's just a little bit brighter. That's because we're taking, like, I believe it was just a tungsten bulb, and we're beaming it into the ground with a Fresnel or a Lego or whatever, or even maybe it was Bear bulb. I don't really remember, but it was relatively targeted. So we're hitting that, and then that was giving us a little bit of up bounce, just a little bit of up bounce on her, nothing too much, but it added like a cool layer of light when she would walk. But yeah, I like this shot. I like, she kind of comes from the darkness, you know, in the beginning of the piece, and she's just trying to figure out what the hell's going on. Where is she? And, you know, we're just doing artsy fartsy stuff. So yeah, that was a fun piece. And then the last one for today is this video called Bad Apple. This is an old one, maybe 4 years old or so. I was kind of just getting, you know, starting to be professional with my music video work. And Faello is a great guy, great human being, and really, you know, trusted me with the visions. And so I love this shot. Like, it's super music video-y, you know. It's just like, what can we do to make this fun, right? And that's kind of what we were doing on this project here. So, you know, we have, and I felt so bad for the studio, that the warehouse that we were shooting this at, because this flower did not want to come off the fucking ground. So I asked if we could use water and flour and like just throw it all over the ground, and, you know, make all the stickiness, and, you know, he would roll around in it and get dirty, and, you know, it was just like, it would be just a cool visual to have. You could throw it up, and and it was great. But it was like this flower would not leave the ground for like it took so long for us to mop and sweep this up. I couldn't believe how long it took, but it was worth it because this looks super sick and it was such a fun thing to make. And I remember like, and I don't know if this was the right choice anymore, but I remember just thinking, man, even though I got the red light coming out through here, which is really cool, and then I got our key light pushing light through this way, you know, that's cool and all, but I was like, it feels like it needs a focal point. So I took my spotlight and we threw it right down the middle and just did a little slit there and kind of overexposed it almost. I mean, in comparison to the rest of the video. And yeah, I think it looks really cool. I think in hindsight, I probably would have framed this out. I think I would have let the light go in that way. But yeah, I think generally speaking, it's a fun shot. It's a music video, so you can have fun and try things like that, even if it makes no sense sometimes. And you know, yeah, one of my earlier shots, in my career. So yeah, I feel there's been so much improvement since then. It's really cool. But yeah,